watching Fut-Afrique. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We're talking and reliving all the magical moments, those moments that gets your hair to literally stand on your arms when you think about them. It's the Africa Cup of Nations 2023. It's come and gone, but it lives within our minds and our hearts forever. Côte d'Ivoire, the host nation, did the unthinkable as they rose from the dead. They literally were the ghosts within this competition because if you remember, it was Morocco who did them justice by defeating and eliminating Zambia in the last round of, or the last game of the group stages, and that's how they mathematically then booked their spots into the next round.
You know what is interesting about the story is that they were the fourth nation amongst the third based.
Yes.
So meaning they were the lowest of the lowest amongst the countries that qualified for the last 16 round.
But it's not late until the fat lady sings, but I think it's not even over until the shop is actually closed.
It is indeed. I mean, if you look at the story, I mean, it all started with a win when they played their first game up against Guinea-Bissau, you know, where Fofana scored a beauty. He had a wonderful tournament, Fofana, overall, I have to say.
Yeah, we were all saying Fofana. Most people were knowing about him for the first time, by the way.
It was indeed. I mean, he had a wonderful game. He scored a beauty. The opener, 4th minute of the game, the stadium goal went absolutely crazy. You know, then it was also time for Jean-Philippe Crasso to find the back of the net. But that was the end for Crasso, because he never showed up immediately after that. He just disappeared, you know. And then the second game, that's the surprise. They lost against Nigeria, you know. But then they still had, the coach was then Jean-Louis Gasset. That was the man in charge of the nation. They played their third game where they got seriously pasted and hammered
Equatorial
Guinea by 4-0. Then there was the end. 2 days later, on his birthday, MS5, son of the soil, stand up, we need you.
Yeah.
Assistant coach for 18 months, and they said, know what, Gasset, Junior, thank you very much, my guy. You got us humiliated in front of our own fans. Tada. They brought in now the new coach. You know, in comes MS5, a man who was there in 2006.
As an interim, by the way, at that point.
Interim coach comes in, 2006, was part of the losing team in Egypt, by the way, when Egypt hosted the tournament when he won by penalties against Côte d'Ivoire. So he comes in, takes over. The first game he's playing is up against 2 days, and 5 days later, by the way, plays the defending champion, Senegal. 1-0 down. He makes changes, crazy changes. Hala comes in. Pepe comes in. Kessie comes off the bench. Guess who scored the equalizer? Kessie.
Yeah.
1-1 the scoreline. Goes into penalties. They win the game by penalties. Senegal, with a 100% record in the group stages, eliminated.
Yeah.
1 gone.
But that's the thing with Côte d'Ivoire, right? Obviously, a lot of people had undermined them following that 4-0 defeat against Equatorial Guinea. But I feel like consistency was something that lacked amongst the players individually with their performances.
If you look at a player like Kosunu, you know, when he was given a chance to start playing, you know, after the previous coach has left, Ndika coming in, and you also saw Serge Aurier, you know, one of the legends from the 2015 winning team, as well as Max Gradel, were now in the starting 11. When Max came over, he said, you know what, I need players who can lead this team. Who are those? Brought those players in. Case started playing much better. Adingra, who was not given a chance to play previously, started now coming. Came in as a sub in the quarterfinals, and then he was a key player because he managed to get a goal in one of those matches. Then he went on to the semifinals, was a creator, you know, and then he went into the final himself, created both the goals, making unbelievable. I mean, the way he held on and took Aina to clean us in what will be the final eventually, which we'll talk about later on, was just how things were changed by the side. How they played against DR Congo. Hala, who had been a shell of himself overall, he got into the semifinals, scored a goal that won them the semifinal. And then it was a story of what can he do when he gets to the final. So you got to talk about MS5. When a new coach comes in, people are always going to say, what does he do? First of all, he's a Ivorian. That's the first thing.
Language.
He has been in the final. Also, language is number 1. Number 2, he had been to the final before, lost the final himself. So he knows how it feels to be in the situation. Thirdly, he's coaching the under-23 team. He's promoted most of the players from the under-23 into the senior team, working alongside that is coach Jean-Louis Gasset. So when he's given a chance to say, okay, we brought in somebody, he has failed us. Now, let's see what he can do. Now,
so who much is gifted, much is expected.
Exactly. You know, I always say there's two things that you must know. Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit.
Yes.
Wisdom is knowing never to mix with a fruit salad. So he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He brought in all the ingredients into a good team that they had. And that's when he saw Hala coming to the party.
Which is what I want to point out when you talk about your Hala, your Pepe, and everyone else, right? It wasn't necessarily now about who your name is out there.
Yeah.
It was about what you bring to the pitch. And I think that's when we saw Côte d'Ivoire working much better as a well-oiled machine, because it wasn't necessarily because your name is a Pepe.
You got to play.
Yeah.
You know, not guaranteed to play. You have to actually do well. A new star was born also for Côte d'Ivoire, Seri.
Yes.
Seri was exceptional. How he went about his business in the middle of the park was something else. You know, alongside Sangare, they look so good together. But Sangare will always be substituted. Kessie will come in for Sangare.
Yes.
So what Sangare will give you in a defensive fold and trying to get you forward, Kessie will up the end when he comes in. He'll double up.
I know we're running out of time, but my favorite moment for Côte d'Ivoire was Diakite, when he took off his shirt, and then when he got back and they reminded him, "What are you getting a red card?" And he was that for me is my favorite moment for Côte d'Ivoire in this AFCON. My boy was in tears, and I don't think it was tears because he scored. It was like, oh damn, I'm missing the next game.
The semi-finals.
Anyway. We talk about that final when we come back, because we need to talk about Nigeria as well as Côte d'Ivoire as to how Côte d'Ivoire eventually lifted that title.